The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
Hey, welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom. And joining me now from our OTC studios in New York City is Nicholas Kadysh. He is the CEO of PharmAla Biotech Holdings. And Nicholas, good to see you. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to see you again, Steve.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Exciting days for the company. I know we've got some stuff to talk about what's happening now and in the future. But first, maybe for people not familiar, tell me a bit about your story. It really is a unique one.
Yeah, thanks very much. So PharmAla was basically designed to be an MDMA company, and we really do two things. So we're the world's leading supplier and producer of MDMA for clinical use. That's for clinical trials. It's for patient treatments, which we do in Canada and Australia. And then we also research and develop novel analogs of MDMA. So we patent new drugs that are based off of MDMA and develop them through the clinical trial process to treat a range of disorders.
A lot of people, I'm sure, would ask, how are you able to do this because of regulations and rules and all that? Can you sort of explain to us what makes your company unique about that?
Yeah, so we do hold a controlled substances license issued by Health Canada, which allows us to work with these molecules. And we work with a range of partners who are also licensed to work with the molecules, including the University of Arkansas and a number of major research universities that we count as clients. Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins, all those guys. So look, this is biotech research. So, just like there are opioids that you would get in the hospital that are legal for use when you get surgery, but not legal for use on the street, MDMA falls in the same category. So as long as you keep the uses legal and medicinal, then it's perfectly fine.
Nick, there's so much research going on right now around MDMA for a number of different conditions, mental health conditions, addiction. There's lots of things going on. Do you focus on one particular area, or is it a uniqueness of your company able to focus on a number of different ones with different companies?
So we supply MDMA to a whole bunch of researchers studying a ton of different indications. One that I'm really excited about in my home country of Canada, the Canadian Institutes for Health Research just funded a massive multi-site trial looking at neuropathic pain, so chronic pain coming from nerves. And they're studying MDMA for that. We're supplying that trial. Very exciting research. But look, we are sort of open to supplying researchers in all kinds of indications, looking at MDMA. For ourselves, for our novel analogs, we're looking at two major indications. For one, we're looking at social anxiety, and for the other one, we're actually looking at something a little bit further afield. We're looking at brain trauma, so post-stroke recovery, traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. I mentioned you had some news out recently, one of which, Laneo, which is your MDA, has been moved to Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah.
You've opened up a portal now for patients and prescribers.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really sort of taking the lead on of a lot of different things.
Yeah, look, we're trying to get the medication to patients in those countries that allow it, of course. That's not everywhere. But I think some of the most persuasive evidence for regulators, for legislators, is real world evidence. It's one thing to say this was effective in a clinical trial, but when you can go to a government like the Canadian government or the Australian government or the US government, and you go to them with an actual patient who got treated in the real world for whom it did a lot of good, it's very, very hard to say, no, you're just talking, this is just research. No, this is real people. These are real lives. And so we view part of our mission as making sure that actual patients get the medication, not just clinical researchers.
Absolutely. You're in the US, obviously, key market for you. You talked about what you do in Canada. You've also New Zealand, a lot of other places. But I would imagine the US is a very specific market you like to penetrate.
Yeah, look, the US is an interesting market. It's a little tough, obviously. It's a big market, but a little tough. A lot of the work we do in the US these days is with government agencies. So whether that be the US Veterans Affairs Administration, or recently we signed a deal to supply a US military trial funded by the Defense Health Agency. So a lot of our work is with government, but the US government has not allowed for patient treatments yet. So it's still mostly clinical research down here in the US, but obviously, important market for us.
Absolutely. Nicholas, thanks so much for getting us a quick update on what's going on with the company. It sounds like it's full steam ahead, and we look forward to following your story, okay?
Thanks very much. Good to see you again.
Yeah, there's Nicholas Kadysh. He's the CEO of PharmAla Biotech Holdings.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors, or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.